This video is an assignment for sociology class, Body and Society, at San Diego State University. The purpose of the assignment is to help inform us on key issues related to sociology of the body. The positions being advocated may not necessarily reflect the opinions of the students developing this video. Hello, my name is Alexis Bergman, and this portion of the video will explore different ideas surrounding gender in the United States. We will begin by exploring consumer culture and its effect upon the American view of gender. According to the textbook, The Body and Society, items in consumer culture have become a significant means of making claims about who and what we are or how we would like to be seen by others. Within consumer culture, advertising becomes extremely important, and these advertisements tend to paint women in a sexual manner in order to sell their product. This Dior ad, selling perfume for women, depicts an objectively good-looking woman painted in gold, which is traditionally seen as a powerful color and a sign of wealth. Yet, if you examine the expression behind her eyes, there appears to be a look of disappointment and a sort of fear. Advertisements like this work to paint women in a subjugated manner. Additionally, advertisements like this one depict women as intellectually inferior and suggest that women should focus on their appearance rather than their education. The academic journal entitled Women's Objectification by Consumer Culture, published by the International Journal of Gender and Women's Studies, shares that feminist media theorists state that women with the help of feminism got rid of oppressive feminine roles, but they could not rid themselves of the feminine image which oppresses women as consumers as well as workers of consumer culture. The journal continues stating that in these media depictions of women, the viewer sees only an airbrushed image of a model, and hence moves on the road of self-destruction by emulating these unachievable ideals. This demonstrates the implicit dangers of depicting women in this manner. I will now explore the female body as an object of government control. The textbook The Body and Society states that, for instance, there are a number of conditions and/or syndromes experienced by women that not only function in a way that reinforces the idea of the female body as inferior, but also are exploited as grounds on which to exclude women from social and political participation. In today's American society, the female body is controlled by the government through abortion and birth control laws. An article by Catherine Cohn states that Georgia Agamben argues that the production of a biopolitical body is an original activity of sovereign power, wherein women are reduced to reproductive life exposed to state intervention. As the government allows decisions concerning abortion to be left to the states, the female body increasingly becomes an object of government control. This is especially true as states begin to monitor pregnant women's geolocations and their migration patterns. This control of the female body is especially terrifying, considering these abortion rights had long been granted and protected by the federal government before their recent removal. So here we see an explicit attitude change towards how and if the female body should be controlled. This national decision has led to loads of public outrage as women fight for their bodies to be free from government control. So, this video portrays that women in America are far from meeting this ideal of equality that the country perpetuates. Women in the United States are constantly subjugated by the media through sexual and demeaning advertisements, all while the government fights for control of their bodies, perpetuating the notion that women are not deserving of an equal place in American society.
Hello, my name is Mina Yusuf. Although many of us may not know, the role that gender plays differentiates in different countries around the world. There are many gender roles and stratifications placed on people all around the world. However, each country differs in the role that each gender plays. I will be focusing on the consumer culture, gender roles, and social stratifications placed on people in Iraq. Women are treated differently in Iraq than they are in the United States. By the age of 16, most girls are married in Iraq. This is not done voluntarily, but rather forcefully. As it is evident in this picture, you can see that the girl is young and does not look happy to be married. This is because she is just a little girl. In Iraq, women are belittled and therefore have no say in any of the decisions that are made for them. This girl was forced to get married against her will. She did not get an education, nor did she have a career. Her life was thrown away the minute that her parents decided that she is old enough to get married. In Iraq, this is normal. It is the norm for women to be housewives. This girl has to cook, clean, do laundry, and care for her husband. On the other hand, the husband gets to control her, go to college, and build a career for himself. When it comes to consumer culture, Iraq is a third world country. It is hard to be influenced by social media and advertisements on the most popular items thus far. They are not given the broad perspective of multiple influencers on what to consume when they are shopping. In Iraq, all they have are little shops that you can get into. Whatever is there is there. It is hard for them to shop online and look at models and see what is in style. In Iraq, the social stratification is also completely different. There are two completely different types of social statuses in Iraq. You are either poor or rich, and it is hard to get into the middle. Most Iraqis either live in a mansion or in a dirt poor house. This is because of the economic stratification placed in Iraq. Socially, once you are born rich, you stay rich, and if you are born poor, you stay poor. There are very few chances and opportunities for success in Iraq. It is hard to grow businesses and careers like we do here in America. As it can be seen, there are many differences between living in Iraq than living in America. The social norms and bias of gender roles differs greatly. Although Iraq is just a different country, the gender norms, consumer culture, and social stratifications differ greatly.
Women around the world continue to face intense discrimination. I will now be discussing the gender discrimination of women in Asian societies, specifically China. Chinese women throughout history have been exploited in consumer culture, have specific gender roles, and are limited to a certain lifestyle based on stratifications. Chinese women in advertisements are sexually exploited, and despite government obligation to eliminate gender discrimination, female exploitation in advertising continues to be a prevalent issue in Chinese society. Women are expected to pose sexually to please the male gaze. People have been taught that this is one of the only ways that a product will sell. There are also unrealistic standards for female models. Women are expected to be a certain weight, size, and are made to pose sexually and submissive. This also relates to many other countries regarding female advertisement. Women are taught that unless they look a certain way, they will be seen as undesirable by men. This image shows a group of men at a car show. One thing that is notable is that the cars are up for display alongside the female models, who are the selling point and possible main attraction of this campaign. The woman standing by the car, as well as the men drawing on the woman's leg in the front, explicitly exhibits women as objects in the male gaze. Women are also excluded from job advertisements. Employers often only want men for job positions, with advertisements including phrases such as "only men need apply." Though the government is obligated to eliminate gender discrimination, ads like these are still a relevant issue today. Women in Chinese society are also expected to serve traditional roles. Since the beginning of time, men have been seen as the leaders, protectors, and providers of Chinese society. Women were forced to stay in the home in order to cook, clean, and take care of children. While this dynamic worked for many families, it still discriminated against women because of the limitations on their contribution to society. Even today, if women are educated, they are seen as undesirable by men in China. Female jobs include cleaning and textiles, while male jobs include government and business positions. If a woman has a higher position in Chinese society, such as a doctor, they will still receive a lesser pay than men and find it harder to acquire job positions. There are also a multitude of stratifications placed on women in Chinese society. One example of this is the one-child policy set in place by the government in 1979. This policy limited families to one child in order to reduce population rates. Baby girls were unwanted because boys were predicted to be more successful in life. This led to forced abortions, unwanted adoptions, and abuse towards women and girls in general. This image depicts a typical Chinese family following that one-child policy. While the family may seem happy, there is often much stress, anxiety, and depression regarding being limited to one child. The bond between a mother and her child is extremely strong, especially right after birth. Imagine giving birth to a baby girl and having her stripped away from you in the hospital simply because of her gender. China's one-child policy was extremely discriminatory towards the female population. This policy lasted until 2015, proving that it is a very recent issue and gender discrimination in China is still prevalent in the 21st century.
Hi, my name is Camila Marquez, and the country I am specifically going to talk about is Mexico. I will be researching the expectations of women in Mexico when it comes to consumer culture, gender roles, and stratifications placed on people based on their gender. Mexico has expectations of women in many different aspects. The first is consumer culture. When it comes to shopping, Latina women tend to dominate the market. According to insights into the Hispanic female consumer states, Latinas dominate the retail landscape and shoppers, and their spending power is only expected to grow. The reason why Mexican women tend to incline to how they look is because growing up, looking their best was always valued. They were always told growing up to look their best and put together. The picture is a portrayal of the Mexican woman shopping in order to represent the domination of Mexican women to the market. It is showing Mexican women shopping for clothes in order to make sure they look put together, since that is what they were told growing up. In continuation, there are distinct roles that women and men are expected to perform in their culture. This picture below is trying to convey the stereotypical role of a Mexican woman at home. According to gender roles in Mexico states, Marianismo, on the other hand, refers to feminism and to the ideals that women are modest, restrained, virtuous, and nurturing. In Mexican culture, women are supposed to be stay-at-home mothers that provide food for their husbands and take care of their children. They are also expected to stay at home and do all of the at-home duties while their husbands are working in order to provide for the family. The textbook states that the female body is viewed as a troubled body, which means perceived as a spectacle or fantasy and fetishized within popular culture. This goes along with the Mexican culture gender roles because the women are supposed to provide at home and to their husbands. Lastly, Mexican culture also has stratifications placed on people based on their gender. Gender inequality is one of the most fundamental objectives in Mexican society. According to Gender Inequality in Mexico, it states that half of working-age women are not formally employed, nor seeking to become so. Also, gender inequality in Mexico states the labor participation rate for women reached 45.1% during the second quarter of 2022, in contrast with 76.5% for their male counterparts. There is a big difference between gender stratification and the difference in employment rates. Mexico stratified Mexican women by forming stereotypes that women should be mothers instead of being employed.